My husband is still best friends with the girl he had a 6-year long-term relationship, and admitted I was ugly when they recently hung out. I've been married for 4 months now, after dating my husband for 2 years. I always thought things were okay, even good, but recently something happened that shook me to my core. My husband, 38, is still best friends with his ex. Not just any ex, but the one he dated for 6 years. She's part of his friend group, and honestly, it never bothered me before. I figured, hey, that's the past, and they're just friends now. But after what happened recently, I'm not sure I can keep telling myself that anymore. It all started during a small celebration we hosted with friends and family. At one point, all the women gathered in one room, and I found myself chatting with her, his ex. She's 3 years older than me, unmarried, and stunningly beautiful, like model-level gorgeous. I tried to keep things light and friendly, but the mood shifted quickly. Out of nowhere, she started asking about my husband in this joking but kinda probing way, if he was troubling me, if he was treating me okay. It felt off, like she was testing me or sizing me up. Then, she pulled out her phone. And showed me pictures. Not just random ones, but from when they were together. Tons of photos and videos, most taken during the years they dated. I was shocked she still had all those. It felt like an invasion. When I told her I was uncomfortable, she just laughed it off like I was overreacting. What hurt the most? The places they'd been, like Barcelona. Twice. Places my husband refused to visit with me, calling them boring or not his thing. The contrast stung so much. She called those years his prime, bragging about the adventures they had, and it felt like she was rubbing it in. I tried to keep my cool, but it was hard. Later that night, when the guys were hanging out downstairs, drunk and loud, I overheard something that crushed me even more. They were talking about how my husband's family accepted me, which should have been a positive thing, but the conversation was full of slurs about my background and my appearance. They were mocking me. Then came the worst part, his friends laughing about how he once called me ugly. Right there, in front of them. And my husband? He slurred out something like, yeah, she might be ugly, but I married her. It was supposed to be funny, I guess, but it felt like a slap to the face. I walked out before I could hear more, tears burning behind my eyes. Took a long shower, trying to wash off the humiliation, but it lingered. I kept thinking about those pictures, the laughter, his words. How he hugged his ex goodbye the next morning, packed her favorite sweets for her trip back, while I'm here, feeling jealous, insecure, and like I'll never be enough. It's hard to believe they're just friends, when all this history and disregard is staring me in the face. The next morning was quiet. My husband didn't even notice I hadn't slept all night. I stayed curled up on the edge of the bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything I'd heard. His slurred words, his friend's laughter, her face, smug, confident, like she knew something I didn't. He came into the room, whistling like nothing happened, holding a little box of sweets. These are for her flight, he said. She loves these. I wanted to scream. He never remembered what kind of chocolates I liked, but for her, he had them specially packed. Still, I stayed silent. I wanted to believe it was just my mind overreacting, that I was being jealous, unreasonable. But that fake peace didn't last long. As I was folding laundry later that day, I found something tucked between the sheets of our bed, a bracelet. Silver, delicate, with a tiny R charm. Her name starts with R. It wasn't mine. I don't wear jewelry like that. I stared at it for a full minute, heart thudding in my chest, before I marched to him and held it up. What's this? I asked. He blinked, then laughed like it was no big deal. Oh, must be hers. Probably fell off when she was helping me make the bed. Helping you make our bed? I asked. Yeah, you were out running errands, remember? I didn't remember that. But I did remember coming back early that day and finding them sitting in the kitchen, laughing, close, way too close. I remember feeling like an outsider in my own home. And now this? I didn't say anything else. I just walked away and shoved the bracelet in a drawer. That evening, we went out for dinner with some of his friends. His ex wasn't there, thank God. But something was different. I could feel them watching me, especially one of the girls, his friend Maya. She kept shooting glances my way, whispering to the guy next to her. I caught a few words, she doesn't know, and, still texting. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locked the door, and just stood there. I wasn't imagining this. I couldn't be. Later that night, when he fell asleep beside me, I checked his phone. Yeah, I know. I hate snooping. But I was past the point of caring. And what I found? Dozens of deleted threads. But he forgot to clear his WhatsApp archives. And there she was. His ex message after message. Inside jokes. Old photos she'd sent, for memory's sake. Him calling her, Ratch. Her calling him, babe, he didn't stop her. One message stood out. I miss when we could talk without tiptoeing around her. Tiptoeing around me. In my marriage. I stared at that message like it was a dagger. And my husband, snoring peacefully beside me, completely unaware that in that moment, I stopped trusting him. The next morning, I didn't look at him. I didn't say, good morning, didn't ask what he wanted for breakfast. I just went through the motions. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did and didn't care. He was too busy texting, smiling at his phone while sipping the coffee I made. I wanted to grab that phone and smash it. Instead, I sat across from him, calm, collected, and said, do you still love me? He looked up, caught off guard. What? Do you still love me? I repeated. He laughed, like it was a joke. Of course I do. What kind of question is that? I just nodded, got up, and walked away. I couldn't cry in front of him. Not after everything I read. Not after watching him treat her like she was still his, while I was just a convenience. I knew I needed answers. Real ones. So I messaged Maya. The girl who was whispering at the dinner. I told her I needed to know what was going on. I told her I wouldn't tell him. And after 10 minutes of silence, she sent a single message. You deserve to know the truth. They never stopped sleeping together. I felt my whole body go cold. I stared at the screen for so long my eyes burned. She followed up. They've hooked up at least twice in the last 6 months. Once at a hotel when she was in town for a conference, and once, at your house. When you were at your mom's. I dropped my phone. My hands were shaking. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe. I had left him alone that weekend because my mother had a health scare. I came back early. He said he had just been relaxing. I never questioned it. Now I was questioning everything. That night, I didn't sleep again. I sat up on the couch, going through every memory, every moment that now felt like a lie. I remembered how he used to touch me like he meant it. I remembered the way he held my hand in public, said he'd never cheat, ever. I remembered how he promised I was his everything. And I remembered all the times I ignored my gut because I wanted to believe the man I married wouldn't betray me. The next morning, I looked him in the eye and said, I know. He played dumb. Know what? That UF*** get her. Twice. Minimum. His face drained of color. Wait. Who told you? Don't worry about who. Just know I know. And I'm done playing stupid. He opened his mouth to speak, but I raised my hand. Save it. You've lied enough. And with that, I walked out of the room. For the first time, I felt like I had control again. He followed me into the hallway like a puppy chasing its owner. Wait, just let me explain. It's not what you think. Don't insult me, I snapped. It's exactly what I think. He looked like he'd been slapped. It didn't mean anything, okay? It was a mistake. Just 2 stupid mistakes. I swear it's over. Mistake. That word again. Like accidentally grabbing the wrong coffee order. Like forgetting to pay a bill. 2 accidents that just so happened to involve him inside his ex-girlfriend. I turned around, arms crossed. How do you accidentally text her for months? How do you accidentally lie about where you've been? How do you accidentally F***k someone in our house? He opened his mouth but said nothing. Exactly, I said. You didn't accidentally do anything. You chose her. Repeatedly. He started pacing, running his hands through his hair like he was the one falling apart. I thought I could handle being friends with her. I didn't want to cut her off completely. We had history. But she kept reaching out, and things just happened. No, things didn't just happen. You made them happen. You said you loved me. I do love you, he said desperately. You have no idea how sorry I am. I was stupid. Weak. But I never stopped loving you. I stared at him. This man. This liar. This walking contradiction who could cheat and still claim to love me. It was almost laughable. So when you were kissing her, I asked, were you thinking about how much you love me? Was that what kept you hard? He flinched. Good. He reached out to touch me, and I stepped back. Don't. Please, he begged. Can we just go to therapy? Work through this? We've built a life together. We didn't build anything, I cut in. I built a home around a man who wasn't real. You just played house while sneaking around behind my back. He fell to his knees. Actually dropped to the damn floor like this was a scene out of a bad movie. I'll do anything. Anything. Please don't leave me. I shook my head. You should have thought about that before unzipping your pants for your ex. I walked away. Packed a bag. Not because I was moving out, not yet. But because I needed air. Distance. Sanity. I went to my sister's place, where I didn't have to pretend to be okay. That night, I cried until my lungs hurt. Not because I missed him. But because I missed the version of him I thought was real. Because grief isn't always about death. Sometimes, it's about realizing someone you loved never truly existed. I thought I'd heard it all. But then she had the nerve to reach out. 2 days after I left, I got a DM. From her. His ex. The woman he cheated on me with. It was so bold, I almost laughed. Hey. I just wanted to say I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't know he was still with you when we hooked up. I stared at the message, trying to decide if she was clueless or just evil. I screenshotted it and stared at the image like it would make more sense. It didn't. I replied, you didn't know? Really? So the framed pictures of us in the living room didn't tip you off? She responded almost instantly, I thought he moved out. He told me you two were basically over. Oh, so that's the new lie. He told her we were over, while crawling into my bed every night and telling me he loved me. Classic. I didn't answer. I didn't owe her anything. I wasn't about to get into a back and forth with the woman who knowingly or unknowingly helped blow up my life. But apparently, she thought this was a conversation. Just so you know, he's been texting me non-stop since you left. I think he's spiraling. I blinked at the screen. What did she want me to do? Rush back and cradle him while he cried about the consequences of his own betrayal? I left her on read. I blocked her. I blocked him. I blocked everyone who reminded me of the mess. And then I cried. Again. Not because I wanted him back, but because I hated that he got to shatter everything and still have people checking on him. Meanwhile, I was the one staying at my sister's place, eating ice cream at 3 a.m., trying to stitch together a version of reality that didn't include the biggest liar I've ever loved. I started therapy the following week. The first thing my therapist asked me was, what are you afraid of? I said, that I'll never trust anyone again. She smiled kindly and said, that's fair. But you will. You'll heal. But first, you have to get angry enough to stop blaming yourself. And damn, she was right. I spent so long asking what I did wrong, why I wasn't enough, why he strayed, why he picked someone else. But none of it was about me. He cheated because he could. Because he wanted to. Because he lacked the spine to be honest and the decency to walk away before causing damage. And that has nothing to do with my worth. That was the moment I finally let go of the version of him I built in my head. It was around 1 a.m., 3 weeks after I left, when I got a text from his mom. That alone was wild. His mom, who used to barely acknowledge me at family dinners, was suddenly messaging me. She wrote, I'm sorry for what my son did. I didn't raise him to treat people like this. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. I was stunned. This was the same woman who once side-eyed my Indonesian dishes at a potluck and whispered in Korean about how I wasn't a traditional choice. Now she was apologizing on his behalf. Curiosity got the better of me. I replied. We talked. And then she dropped a bomb I wasn't ready for. He told me everything, she said. About the cheating. About what he said that night. I told him he deserved to lose you. And I also told him to tell you the truth. I paused. What truth? There was a long pause before she answered. He didn't cheat just once. It wasn't just her. I felt like the floor collapsed underneath me. Apparently, during his so-called bachelor party weekend a month before our wedding, where I wasn't invited because guys only, he hooked up with someone else. A random girl at a bar. One of his friends confirmed it to his mom when she demanded to know everything. So the whole time he was swearing on his love for me, buying me flowers, planning a honeymoon, he already knew. He'd already done the worst thing possible and still looked me in the eye while I picked out wedding decorations. His mother told him to come clean. He didn't. That was it. That was the switch. All this time, I was sitting in guilt and pain, wondering if I overreacted to a few words and some old photos. But it wasn't just a one-time mistake. It was a string of lies, stretched so far they finally snapped. The next day, I booked an appointment with a divorce attorney. I wanted out, clean, fast, and with zero ties. I didn't tell him. I didn't text. I let the silence be my closure. He called me 18 times that weekend. Left long voice messages sobbing. Even sent me an old picture of us with some dramatic caption about what we used to have. But I'd finally reached the point where his words didn't feel like love anymore. They felt like manipulation. Like someone trying to chain me back into a prison I finally escaped. I wasn't going back. Not to him. Not to the lies. Not to the version of myself that accepted being called ugly and second best.